The ground was cold, even though the sun was high above. Ash floated in the wind like gray snow. The battlefield was silent now, but the memory of screams still echoed in her ears. Vena dropped to her knees beside the small grave, her fingers trembling as they touched the rough stones stacked over the dirt. Her long cloak was torn, stained with dust, blood, and the smell of fire. She did not cry out loud. Her people didn't believe in loud sorrow, but her shoulders shook, and her eyes spilled silent tears. Beneath those stones, she believed, was her daughter, her only child, gone. Taken in the last surprise attack when the human side bombed the shelter where children were hidden. She was only 6 cycles old, Vena whispered, her voice shaking. She still couldn't tie her own belt, but she always smiled. No one stood with her. The squad she came with had already started pulling back to the ship. This area was marked unrecoverable. No bodies were officially found, just melted ground, shattered toys, and empty shells. But a scout had reported something, a tiny body wrapped in a silver blanket. Hidden near the ruins, Vena begged to be let down here. She begged them to let her bury the child herself. Even if she couldn't see her daughter's face, she wanted to say goodbye. She placed a soft woven ribbon on the stones. It was made by her daughter, a simple braid of blue and white threads. The child had given it to her just days before the attack, saying, "Mama, it's magic. It keeps you safe." Vena smiled through tears, but in truth, she had failed. She hadn't been there. She had been at command, fighting battles, making plans, while her child had burned. She felt the guilt like a knife in her chest. Far across the stars, in a forest-covered human outpost, a man named Eli was heating soup. He glanced over his shoulder, toward the small cot in the corner of his cabin. The alien child was still asleep, curled up tightly under blankets. Her skin, a pale lavender, glowing faintly. Her small fingers clutched a toy he had carved from wood. She had no name, at least none she could tell him. She barely spoke, but he had found her 2 nights ago. Hidden under rubble in a bombed alien structure, the area had been marked cleared. But something told Eli to check again. He had followed a strange sound, a soft hum, almost like singing. And there she was, buried under stone and metal, covered in dust and blood, barely breathing. He had pulled her out with his bare hands. She was light, barely moving, but alive. And something in her eyes made him stop. She wasn't just another alien. She was a child, scared and broken. He couldn't report her. He didn't trust the military anymore. Too many experiments, too many lies. So Eli brought her here, to his quiet cabin beyond the patrol zones. He cleaned her wounds, gave her food, and wrapped her in blankets. Sometimes she woke up crying, calling out in a soft, strange voice. He didn't know what she was saying, but he guessed she was calling for her mother. Back on the burned planet, Vena stood up slowly. Her legs were weak, but her heart was weaker. She turned her eyes to the sky. "I hope someone was kind to you at the end," she whispered. "I hope you weren't alone." She didn't know that her daughter was not only alive, but resting safely in a stranger's cabin, light years away. She didn't know that the humans had lied, that her child had never been recorded as found, because someone wanted the child hidden. And Eli didn't know he was holding the daughter of a warrior commander. He didn't know. The child was special, genetically unique, a rare bond born. All he knew was that she needed protection. Somewhere in the dark, someone was watching both of them. An unmarked ship hovered in stealth above the wrecked planet. A small red light blinked silently as it recorded Vena's tears. The system tagged her. Emotional link still active, subject not broken. Then, another signal blinked to life from the human colony. A glowing child had been detected. The hunt was about to begin. And neither mother nor savior had any idea what was coming next. The cabin was quiet, except for the soft sound of breathing. Eli sat near the fireplace, sharpening a broken blade with a small rock. His hands moved slowly, his eyes glancing again and again toward the small bundle on the cot. The alien girl she hadn't spoken in hours. Her lavender skin had started to glow again, just a little, especially when she was scared. The glow came from the tips of her fingers and behind her ears. It pulsed like a heartbeat, soft and warm. Eli didn't know what it meant, but he knew she didn't like bright lights or sudden sounds. She had been with him for 4 days now. Still no name, still no smile, but she no longer flinched when he walked close. She didn't run when he sat near her. That, to Eli, was progress. He called her little spark, not knowing her true name was Mira. To him, she was just a quiet little thing with large, glowing eyes, and a sadness too big for her tiny body. Sometimes she would crawl to the window and stare at the trees. Other times she would wrap herself in the blanket and make soft humming sounds like songs with no words. Eli cooked simple food, vegetable soup, warm bread, sweet roots. She barely ate the first day. Now she ate slowly, carefully, always watching him. But last night, she spoke, just one word, in a whisper, before sleep took her. Mama. Eli had sat in the dark for a long time after that. That one word changed everything. She had a mother, of course she did. And that mother probably thought her daughter was dead, just like the military had assumed. Just like Eli almost believed too, before he heard that soft, strange singing from under the ruins. He stood now and walked to the small metal door. Peeking outside, the forest was still, but something felt wrong, like the wind wasn't blowing right, like the trees were watching him back. He stepped out quietly, grabbing his old hunting rifle. It had no bullets, but it looked dangerous enough. A few steps away, near the edge of the trees, he saw footprints, too large for a child, too deep for his own boots, fresh. Eli cursed under his breath. Someone had found him, or worse, they had found her. He went back inside and locked the door, pulling heavy crates in front of it. The girl watched him with wide eyes, glowing softly again. "It's okay," Eli whispered, kneeling in front of her. "No one's taking you. I promise." She tilted her head like she didn't understand, but she reached out, her small hand grabbing his sleeve. For the first time, she touched him on her own, and that touch lit a fire in Eli's chest, a silent vow. Far away, Vena sat in a small transport ship, her eyes fixed on a stolen data pad. She had broken into a base on the edge of her homeworld and downloaded hidden files. One file played a shaky video. A human man carrying a small glowing child through smoke and ash. The image was blurry, but she knew her daughter's face, even half covered in soot. Her heart stopped. She paused the video and zoomed in. "Mira," she whispered, voice cracking. "My child. You're alive?" She couldn't understand why they lied, why her people said the area was empty, why they made her bury a stone grave. But now, she had a direction. The video was geotagged from a human colony on the edge of Zone 14. She would go there alone. If she had to, she would find the man who had taken her child. Back in the cabin, the girl had fallen asleep again. Eli sat beside her, not sleeping. He heard movement again outside, near the back. He grabbed the blade he had been sharpening, heart beating faster. Suddenly, the lights in the cabin flickered. A pulse of energy buzzed through the air like static. Then silence. Eli stood, blade in hand. He peeked out the back window. Nothing. But something was watching them, above the planet. An unmarked drone hovered in the clouds. Its camera zoomed in on the glowing heat signature inside the cabin. "Target confirmed." Came a voice through static. "Child is alive. Prepare recovery team." But the child wasn't just glowing anymore. She was changing. Her glow became brighter when she felt fear, and now, it was bright enough to light the entire room. Eli looked at her in shock, as her eyes opened again. For the first time, she spoke in clear English. "Don't let them take me," she whispered. Eli nodded, eyes fierce. "Over my dead body," he said. Outside, the wind stopped completely, and somewhere far away, a mother flew through space, guided by love stronger than war. The bond between mother and child had awakened. Night fell over the forest, but the cabin glowed softly from within, not from candles or lamps, but from the little alien girl. Her skin shimmered like moonlight, pulsing gently in waves. Each time she felt scared, the light grew stronger. Eli sat close, watching her sleep again. Her small hands were wrapped around his arm, like she was afraid he'd vanish. He hadn't slept much in the past 2 days. Ever since the lights flickered and the wind died, he knew eyes were watching. He had tried to contact the outer colony once, using a hidden signal, but the reply he got was cold. Do not engage with unknown alien life. If you have made contact, report to command for debrief. No mention of safety, no offer to help the girl. He turned the transmitter off and smashed it. If they found her, they'd take her. And he had seen what they did to alien specimens. They called them test subjects, not children. Eli had seen it with his own eyes once. A crying alien boy dragged from his mother's arms, his glow pulsing just like hers. That boy never came back. Eli promised himself he would never be part of that again. Now, here he was, hiding a child the entire galaxy wanted to forget. The girl, Mira, stirred in her sleep. Her forehead glowed bright for a moment, then dimmed. Her voice was soft, but clear. Mama. Coming. Eli blinked. He leaned closer. What did you say? He whispered. But she had fallen back into deep sleep. Mama coming. Could she sense her? Could her mother be alive? Was she somehow connected? Far beyond the stars, in the cold corridors of a stolen alien scout ship, Vena gripped the control panel. Her mind was sharp, but her heart felt like it might explode. The ship had entered human space 2 hours ago. She was going against orders, against logic, against survival. But she had to find her daughter. She had watched the video again and again. The human man didn't look like a soldier. He carried Mira like she was fragile. He wrapped her in his jacket, shielded her from fire and falling stone. And Myra wasn't crying in that moment. She was reaching for him, trusting him. A strange feeling had started to build in Vena's chest since she left. A warmth, a flicker. It grew every time she whispered her daughter's name. Myra. She could feel her, not like a memory, but something real, something alive. Myra, hold on, she said softly. Your mother's coming. Back in the cabin, Eli walked outside into the cool night. He needed air. The sky was full of stars, silent, distant, but tonight, they felt closer. He heard a sound in the trees, not footsteps, but something heavier. A worry hum, machines. He grabbed his broken rifle again, stepping quietly behind a tree. 2 drones floated into view, their red lights blinking. Eli's heart raced. They were scanning the cabin. He knew they could detect the glow. Subject location confirmed. 1 drone buzzed. Prepare for extraction. Eli didn't wait. He ran inside, slammed the door, and grabbed the child from her cot. She woke instantly, eyes glowing bright gold. We have to go, he said. She didn't ask why. She just held on tight, through the back exit. Eli dashed into the forest. He knew a path, a hidden cave once, used by smugglers. Behind him, drones gave chase. Red lights cutting through the trees. Mira's glow lit the forest floor beneath them. Can you turn it off? Eli asked. She looked at him with wide eyes. I'm scared, she whispered. I know, he said. But I'm here. You're not alone. Suddenly, the light on her skin dimmed. Not gone, but softer. She was trying. They reached the cave entrance just as the drones passed over. Eli slid inside with her, breathing hard. He looked down. She was still glowing faintly, but her eyes were full of trust now. You're getting stronger, he said, smiling for the first time in days. She reached up and touched his cheek with her glowing hand. I remember you, she said softly. You were the one who lifted me. The one who didn't drop me. Tears burned in Eli's eyes. You remember that? She nodded. You held me like Mama did. At that same moment, across the galaxy, Vena gasped. The glow in her own skin, long dormant, had awakened. She felt heat in her chest, and for a moment, she couldn't breathe. "Mira," she whispered. The bond, long broken by war and lies, was whole again. She adjusted her course. She didn't need maps anymore. She could feel her daughter like a light in the dark pulling her home. Eli held his breath inside the dark cave. The walls were damp, the air cold, but it was safer than being outside. Above them, drones hovered, scanning the forest with red beams. If they found the child, they'd take her. And if Eli got in the way, they'd kill him. The little alien girl, Myra, stayed close, her glowing skin now soft and dim. She was learning to hide her light, but fear made it harder. And right now, she was very afraid. Eli wrapped her in a brown blanket, trying to cover the glow. "Don't worry," he whispered. "I'll keep you safe." She looked up at him, her small hands clutching his arm. "You smell like trees," she said quietly. Eli chuckled softly. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" She gave a tiny smile, just for a second. Then the fear returned. Outside, voices came through a communicator. "Target is still close. Infrared shows body heat to life forms. Prepare ground team. Do not engage until confirmed." Eli's heart pounded. The ground team meant real soldiers, not just drones. He didn't stand a chance with a child in his arms. They would shoot first, ask questions, never. He needed a way out, but the path was blocked. Then he remembered something. A tunnel. Deep inside the cave, an old escape route for smugglers. He had never used it, but he had seen the old latch on the floor. He gently picked Myra up, carrying her deeper into the cave. It got darker fast, but Myra's soft glow lit the path just enough. They found the hatch, half covered by moss and stone. Eli pulled it open, grunting. The metal groaned, loud enough to echo. "Mira, go first," he said. She looked nervous. "Are you coming too?" "Always," he said. She slid into the tunnel, and Eli followed, pulling the hatch shut behind them. Meanwhile, Vena's ship entered the outer edge of human territory. She was already being tracked. Military warnings flashed across her screen. "Unauthorized vessel detected. You are entering restricted space. Turn back immediately." She ignored them. She didn't come for war. She came for her daughter. The bond inside her chest grew stronger. She could feel Mira's heartbeat like a second drum in her ribs. It was pulling her toward a forested world. Zone 14. She locked the ship's path and pushed forward, in the human command base orbiting that very zone. Alarms began to sound. Unregistered alien ship approaching. Is it armed? No weapons detected, but it's moving fast. Send interceptors, the captain barked. We can't let another one through. Back on the surface. Eli and Mira reached the end of the tunnel. They climbed out into the night, away from the main trail. Eli had hidden a small hoverbike under a camo net weeks ago, just in case. Now was the time. He helped Myra onto the seat and started the engine. It whined softly. Hold tight, he said. She nodded and wrapped her arms around his waist. They sped through the trees, wind in their faces. Behind them, soldiers discovered the open hatch. They escaped underground, tracked the bike. Aerial sensors. Eli saw lights in the sky. Drones. Again, faster this time. He turned sharply, heading toward an old mining station he knew had shielding. Inside her ship, Vena's screen blinked. Proximity alert energy surge detected. She zoomed in on the surface. Two figures on a bike, one glowing softly. Her breath caught. Mira. She sent a signal, an old emergency code, one used only by her people. She aimed it at the ground, hoping the child would feel it. In the mining station, Eli pulled the bike inside, locking the doors. The place was dusty, broken, forgotten, but the walls still had power enough to block sensors. He sat Mira down and checked her hands, small cuts from the ride, but nothing serious. Then she looked up at him, eyes wide. "Mama's close," she whispered. Eli froze. "You sure?" She closed her eyes and nodded. "She's calling me." Just then, the lights flickered again. Her glow pulsed once, like a signal being answered. High above, Vena gasped. The ship's lights blinked in rhythm with the bond. She didn't care what waited below. She began descent. Eli watched as Myra stood and walked to the window. "She's here," she whispered. "She's coming." Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let's make sure no one gets in the way." But outside, human soldiers were already preparing to breach. They didn't know the mother was coming, and they didn't care about the child's glow. They wanted control, and they'd shoot anyone who stood in the way, even one of their own. The night was full of tension. Eli sat with his back against the wall of the old mining station, holding his dull blade. Beside him, Mira rested quietly, her glow now soft and steady, but her eyes were wide open, watching the shadows dance on the ceiling. She wasn't speaking much, but Eli could feel something had changed. She seemed calmer, like a storm had passed inside her. She whispered only one word, again and again, "Mama." Eli didn't know how she knew. He didn't understand alien bonds or strange glowing skin, but he believed her. Because something in the air had shifted, it felt like the forest was holding its breath. Outside, boots hit the dirt. Human soldiers crept closer to the station, weapons drawn. Their visors glowed red in the dark, and their orders were simple: recover the child, eliminate the traitor. One of them held up a scanner. "Signals weak, but they're definitely in there. On my count," said the squad leader. 3, 2. Before he could say one, the sky above lit up. A silver ship broke through the clouds, silent, smooth, and shaped like a tear. It didn't fire any weapons, but its glow bathed the entire area in blue light. "What the hell is that?" a soldier shouted. "It's not one of ours. Fall back, wait for command." Inside the station, Myra stood up quickly. "She's here," she whispered. "My mama's here." Eli grabbed her hand and looked out the window. His eyes widened. An alien ship had landed just a few meters from the entrance. The door on its side hissed open slowly. A figure stepped out, tall, regal, and fierce. Her cloak waved in the wind like fire. Her eyes scanned the ground until they stopped on the mining station. "Mira," Vena whispered. She ran forward, but the soldiers raised their weapons. "Stop right there," one yelled. "You're entering a secure zone." "I'm not here to fight," Vena said calmly. "I'm here for my daughter. Subject 892 belongs to the Human Defense Science Division." The soldier snapped. "She is not yours anymore." That sentence broke something inside her. Vena's hands clenched. Mira was never yours to take. Inside, Mira turned to Eli. "I feel her. She's scared too." Eli opened the side door slowly, keeping Mira behind him. He stepped into the light, raising both hands. "I'm the one hiding her," he said loudly. "If you want to kill someone, take me." The soldiers aimed their rifles. "Step away from the alien." But before they could fire, Mira pushed past Eli and stood between him and the guns. Her glow suddenly flared bright gold. Everyone froze. The glow pulsed in waves, like a heart beating through the air. The soldiers covered their eyes, blinded by the light. Their rifles lowered. Vena ran forward, falling to her knees just a few feet away. "Mira," she whispered again. The child turned slowly. Their eyes met. For one long second, time stopped. Then Mira cried out, "Mama." She ran into Vena's arms. The alien mother wrapped her daughter in a tight embrace, her eyes flooding with tears. "I thought I lost you," she sobbed. "I thought I buried you." Myra held her tightly. "I was so cold, but he kept me warm." She pointed at Eli. Vena turned her eyes toward the human man. She stood up slowly and walked toward him. At first, Eli braced himself, expecting anger or blame, but Vena bowed her head slightly. "Thank you. You saved what I thought was already dead." Eli said nothing for a moment, then nodded. "She saved me too," he replied softly. The soldiers were confused. They didn't expect this. Their target had just hugged the enemy, and now stood beside him. One of them lowered his weapon. "This isn't right," he whispered. Another nodded. She's just a child. But a voice crackled through their radios. All units, prepare to take the child by force. Eliminate both targets if necessary. Eli and Vena looked at each other. There was no time to argue. Vena lifted Myra into her arms and turned to Eli. My ship, there's room for you. Eli hesitated. I'm not supposed to leave. Mira looked at him with big eyes. Please, she said. You belong with us now. That was all it took. Eli ran with them toward the ship. Behind them, gunfire began, but the ship's shields activated. Bullets bounced off like rain on steel. Inside, the door shut, engines roared, and the ship rose into the sky. Vena held her daughter close. Eli sat beside them, breathing hard. For the first time in days, Mira smiled. She was safe, and she was home, but deep inside command. Someone watched the escape on a black screen, and they were not pleased. She got away, the officer growled, and she took the human with her. He turned to a shadowed figure in the back of the room. What now? The figure stepped into the light. Now, he said coldly. We bring them back, dead or alive. Asterisk. The ship sliced through the sky like a silent arrow. Clouds parted as the sleek silver vessel climbed higher and higher. Inside, Mira sat between her mother and Eli, her small hands holding theirs tightly. The stars outside the window shimmered like diamonds, but no one inside was relaxed. Vena gripped the controls, her jaw tight. She had stolen this ship. It wasn't made for family escapes. It had no weapons, weak shields, and barely enough fuel for long-distance travel. But it was the only thing she could get when she saw her child alive in that video. And now, the people she stole from would be hunting her. Eli looked back at the Earth-like world they had left. Tiny, now fading into black space. That won't stop them, he said softly. They'll come. Vena nodded. I know. She glanced at Mira. But this time, they won't take her without a fight. Just then, warning lights flashed across the control screen. Incoming signal detected. Pursuit units locked on. Time to contact. 9 minutes. They're fast. Vena muttered, adjusting the course. She tried to engage the warp drive, but the ship shook hard. The engine groaned, then blinked red. Error. Fuel insufficient for hypergyum. Peel grabbed the edge of the console. We can't outrun them. Vena shook her head. Not in this ship. Mira looked up, her glow brighter now. Then we call for help, she whispered. Eli frowned. Help? From who? Mira closed her eyes. Her skin began to shine like a soft sun. Then, the light formed. Symbols floating in the air like sparks. Vena gasped. That's the old code. What code? Eli asked. Vena stared at the glowing symbols. It's a bond signal, used only by ancient lineages of our people. To call for protection, she reached out and touched one of the symbols. It pulsed and vanished into the air. Will someone come? Eli asked. I don't know, Vena answered. No one's used this code in hundreds of years. Outside, the enemy ships grew closer. Sleek black interceptors with glowing red engines. Inside the lead ship, a commander stared at the screen. Target ship identified. No shields strong enough to resist us. Proceed, he ordered. Disable the ship. Capture the child. Kill the rest. The chase began. Laser fire streaked through space. Vena dodged as best as she could. The ship shaking with every close hit. Panels sparked. And warning. Sirens blared. Eli grabbed a fire extinguisher as smoke poured from one corner. Mira clung to her mother. Then, without warning, a light appeared in the distance. A massive ship uncloaked near them, shaped like a winged beast. It glowed with golden patterns and ancient writing. Vena's eyes widened. They answered. The golden ship moved fast, faster than anything Eli had ever seen. Its energy field spread out like a bubble, blocking the incoming laser fire with ease. The enemy ships turned sharply, but it was too late. The golden ship fired once, just a flash, and 2 interceptors vanished in silence. The rest scattered like frightened birds. Inside their tiny ship, everything went still. Vena slumped in the chair, shaking. Eli helped her up. You okay? She nodded slowly. They came. For her, the golden ship opened a communication channel. A voice came through smooth and ancient. Daughter of House Velmera, we have received your bond call. You and the child are under our protection. Now Vena replied, her voice full of emotion. I thank you. We have been hunted for too long. Eli looked confused. Vel, what? Vena turned to him. Mira and I are from a noble bloodline, but it was buried long ago. Hidden after the war, the glow is proof. She carries the old blood, so they weren't just trying to steal an alien child. Eli said, they were trying to control something powerful. Vena nodded. And you, Eli? You kept her alive, even when you didn't know what she was. He shrugged. She was just a kid who needed help. Myra reached for him again. You're still my human, she said softly. You stayed. The golden ship connected with theirs, bringing them aboard gently. Inside, they were met by tall alien guardians, dressed in silver armor and robes. One of them knelt before Myra. Little star, you have returned. Vena was given a private chamber. Mira was taken for healing and bonding rest. Eli was shown a room with warm light and soft chairs. It was more peace than he had known in years. But peace never lasted long in their galaxy, even as they settled. The enemies regrouped. Plans were being made in secret rooms on Earth and beyond, and whispers spread that the Glow Child had survived, that she had chosen a human guardian, and that she could awaken powers long forgotten. The golden ship floated in deep space, far from human war zones and patrol routes. Inside its glowing halls, there was peace. No alarms, no weapons raised, no shouting voices, just quiet. And healing. Mira slept in a room filled with soft lights and floating crystals. Her small body rested on a bed made of light and air. Ancient machines hummed gently around her, scanning her vital signs. She wasn't sick, but the guardians said. Her glow needed balance. Too much fear had pushed her gift too early. Vena stood nearby, watching her daughter breathe. She had one hand on the edge of the cradle, the other pressed to her chest. She's safe now, she whispered. But the ache in her heart hadn't left completely, because dangers still waited beyond the stars. In another part of the ship, Eli sat in a room made for guests. He had never seen anything like it. Walls that changed colors, soft chairs that shaped to his body. A silver tray floated to him with food he couldn't name. He poked it with a fork and smiled to himself. I used to eat canned soup. Now I'm in an alien castle. The door opened quietly. Vena stepped in, her long robe flowing behind her. She didn't wear armor anymore. Now she looked like something out of legend. Eli stood up, unsure if he should bow or speak, but she smiled faintly. You don't have to bow, Eli. He relaxed. How's Mira? Sleeping, Vena replied. Her glow is stronger, no more stable. They sat across from each other. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Vena said, You know they'll come again. Eli nodded. They don't like losing something they think they own. She's not a weapon, Vena said firmly. She's not a prize. She's a little girl, Eli added, and she's brave. Braver than I ever was. Vena looked at him deeply. You're part of this now, Eli. She bonded to you. She trusts you. I didn't plan for that, he said quietly. I just wanted to protect her. That's exactly why she chose you, Vena said. Not because of your blood, not because of your power, but because you loved her like your own. At that moment, a soft bell rang through the ship. A guardian stepped in and bowed. They are coming, he said. For human warships just crossed into ancient space. They carry weapons, and they refuse to answer our signals. Vena stood, fire returning to her eyes. They want to take her again. Eli stood too. So what do we do? The guardian replied. We show them the truth. In the center of the ship, a great chamber opened. Mira stood inside it now, awake and dressed in glowing cloth. Her skin shimmered with silver light. She held out her hands. 2 rings of energy appeared, floating around her wrists. She's activating the heart's. Vena whispered in awe. No child has done this since the ancients. The room began to vibrate as the ship channeled Mira's glow into a signal, not just a message, but a vision across space. Every ship, human, alien, neutral, received it. People across the galaxy saw it. A small girl glowing in the darkness. A human man lifting her from rubble. A mother burying a false grave. Soldiers aiming weapons at a child. And then, a hand reaching out. A child smiling. A bond stronger than war. The signal touched millions. And for the first time in decades, silence spread across battlefields. Soldiers lowered guns. Commanders paused orders. Even the humans chasing the golden ship stopped their fire. Inside the golden chamber, Mira turned and looked at her mother and Eli. I don't want to hide anymore, she said softly. I want to live. With both of you, Vena walked forward and knelt. You will, I promise. Eli crouched beside her. No more running, no more cages. The guardians watched in silence. Then one stepped forward and said, let it be known, across the stars, the child of glow has returned. She is protected by ancient right, and by the heart of a human. That night, across 100 systems, the story spread, not of war, but of a mother's tears, a human's kindness, and a child who changed everything. Peace would not come overnight, but it had begun, and in the eyes of one little girl, the galaxy had hope again.